Here's how to take an f of x and a g of x and find out if they're inverses. So here's the example that we'll be doing in this video. We have an f of x here, that's 3x minus 6, and we have a g of x, that's 1/3 x plus 2. And we need to verify that these are inverses. To find out if f of x and g of x are inverses, we need to find the composite functions. So we need to find f composite g of x, and we also need to find G composite F of x. Basically, F composite G means that we're putting G inside of F and the other way around. So if we do both of these and both of them are equal to x, like just x, then we can safely say that these are inverses. But if even one of these does not equal x, then these are not inverses. So first let's find F composite G of x. Another way to write f composite g of x is f of, instead of x, g of x. So we have an entire function as x in a function. So if you remember from solving functions, let's say we had f of 3, for example, right? We replaced x in f of x with 3. So over here, we would have to replace x with 3 as well. But in this case, we're replacing x with an entire function, which in this case is 1/3 x plus 2. So whenever we see x, we need to replace it with 1/3 x plus 2. So we have 3, and now instead of x, we're going to have g, which is 1/3 x plus 2. And then we just have minus 6. Now we need to simplify this down and see if we just get x by itself. So in this case, I'm seeing that we have a number in front of parentheses. That means we can do the distributive property. So we need to multiply the 3 out to both of these parts. So here we have 3 times 1/3x. We have to do 3 times 1/3. I'll write that out for you. 3 is the same as 3/1, and we're multiplying it by 1/3. So 3 times 1 is 3, and 1 times 3 is 3. And 3 divided by 3 is 1. So these two turn into 1. So we just have 1x, or in this case, that's just x. You don't have to write the 1 in front of a letter. And then here we have 3 times 2. 3 times 2 is 6, so we have plus 6. And then this minus 6 on the outside is going to stay the same. And now here you might notice that plus 6 and minus 6 are just canceling each other out, right? They're doing the opposite of each other. So 6 minus 6 is just 0, so they cancel out. And all we're left with is x. So we've completed the first step of verifying if these are inverses. But remember, for these to be inverses, G composite F of x also needs to be x. So let's go ahead and test that out next. So this is going to be exactly the same, except instead of f with g of x inside, we have g with f of x inside. So we are replacing the x in g of x with the entirety of f of x, which is 3x minus 6. So we're going to write out g, which is 1/3 x plus 2, but instead of x, we're going to put f of x, which is 3x minus 6. So we're going to write out g, 1/3, and instead of x, we're going to have the entirety of f, which is 3x minus 6. And then the plus 2 is here as well. So we're going to do the same thing as before. We can do distributive property, right? So we're going to multiply the 1/3 out to both of these parts. The 1/3 times 3, we did that earlier, but those cancel out. They turn into 1, right? So we have 1x, which is just x. And then next we have 1/3 times negative 6. Let's go ahead and write that out. We have 1/3 times negative 6, or in this case, we can write that over 1, because any number that's not a fraction is just over 1. So we have 1 times negative 6. Anything times 1 is itself, so that's just negative 6. And then 3 times 1 is 3. And 6 divided by 3 is 2. So the minus sign is going to stay, because it's negative. And 6 divided by 3 is 2, so we have a 2 here. And then this plus 2 is still hanging out here, so we have to leave that. And now you may notice that we have the same thing as before, right? We have an x, and then we have two numbers that cancel each other out. You subtract 2, and then you add the 2 back, you've done absolutely nothing. So those cancel each other out. And all we're left with is x, which means that G composite F of x is also x. So F composite G of x was x, and G composite F of x is also x. So we can say that these are inverses. So there we go. We have now verified that these two are inverses. So now you know how to determine if two functions are inverses, but what if you just had one and you need to figure out the inverse of that? Well, if you want to learn how to figure out the inverses of functions, you can watch this video right here. And as always, if you have any questions about this video, go ahead and leave it in the comments, and I'll be sure to answer your question. Thanks for watching.